Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It's Monday. It's the start of another week. I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thank you as always for joining me. I really do appreciate it. We're going to get stuck into the left winger situation in today's show to kick off the new week. Gabriel Martinelli being linked with Bayern Munich. Reports coming in from Germany that he is on their list of possible left wing targets if they can't get Nico Williams, who, like Arsenal, is a major target for them, but they're waiting to see what happens with Barcelona. Basically, whether Barcelona can actually afford him. Because if they can, then they're going to sign him. But if they can't, Bayern Munich are very much in the running for him. But if they can't, then Gabriel Martinelli is reported to be on the list. So we're going to talk about that. Going to talk about Rodrygo, which kind of ties into it. Rodrygo, unused substitute yesterday for Real Madrid in the Club World Cup over in America. So we'll talk about that. Got a couple of questions from you guys on that sort of thing as well that we're going to chat about. Lots of other questions to get stuck into as well. Inside Arsenal Extra Time, just to flag up, it's going to be tomorrow, I think, this week. That's going to be Tuesday afternoon. We'll be recording that. Then the Arsenal Press Pass show for Inside Arsenal members, which if you want to watch this week and you want to sign up to become an Inside Arsenal member, you can do down below. Lots of you have done that in the last week or so. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Welcome on board. And yeah, the Arsenal Press Pass is going to be a little bit later on in the week. No Simon this week because he's on holiday, but hopefully going to have a guest coming in to take his place for the week as well. More updates on that as we head through the week. Right, let's get stuck into Gabriel Martinelli and Bayern Munich, shall we? Now, it's been reported over in Germany by people close to Bayern that Martinelli is on their list and they have held talks over a potential move for him this summer. Now, it's not just Martinelli. As I said at the start, Nico Williams is very much reported to be number one on their list when it comes to a left winger, but there are also interest in Rafael Leao, Bradley Barcola, played at Arsenal, rumoured to be looking at as well, and Gabriel Martinelli. And the club have held talks with all of them to sort of get into a position where if Nico Williams doesn't happen, they're in a good position to sort of pull the trigger on someone else. Don't know anything about prices, what they'd be rumoured to pay for someone like Gabriel Martinelli. Martinelli is really interesting, like how he sort of polarizes opinion within the fan base of a lot of people, like, no. And I think I'm more in this camp of like, unless a really stupid bid comes in, then why would you sell Gabriel Martinelli? Because I know, and I've said, I think left wing is an area where Arsenal need to try and improve on this summer. I think it's really important that they do, but that doesn't mean that should be the end of Martinelli. I just think Martinelli then becomes more of a squad player type option. And what a brilliant, that immediately strengthens your squad. If you've got Martinelli's basically to come off the bench or rotate with, you can play on the right as well. So I wouldn't be in a rush to let Gabriel Martinelli leave. But if a massive offer came in for someone, then obviously you would have to think about that, especially if that could help you then spend money elsewhere and continue to strengthen. But I wouldn't be in any rush to let him go. But yeah, as I was saying, the sort of the polarizing opinion of people of Martinelli. You've got people like me who kind of feel like that, but then you've got a lot of others who seem to run out of patience with Martinelli completely and like, let's just get rid. He's not good enough. He hasn't kicked on, plays with his head down, all those sort of things that you often hear with Gabriel Martinelli. So it'd be interesting to see the reaction if Bayern actually did firm up this interest and came in and made a bit of an offer for him this summer, what the Arsenal fan base would do. The thing where I stand with this, and I've got on record, I don't think, obviously, I think a left winger should come in, but I don't think that should mean either Martinelli or Trossard should go. I think they should both stay and a new player come in, because I think what we need to do this summer is improve the strength in depth. And I think if you've got those players who are all versatile, can offer, Martinelli can fill in as a right-sided winger as well, rotate with Bukayo Saka if you want to rest him. So I don't know why you'd be, when you look at where Arsenal were short last season, it was numbers in attack and squad depth and all that sort of thing. So if it's just one in, one out this summer, left winger comes in, Martinelli goes out, or Trossard goes out, I don't really feel like that strengthens at all. So I'd want to keep both and go out and sign the new left winger. And obviously Rodrygo is a player that we know Arsenal are looking at and have interest in. But it feels like when you look at how the left wing situation is going to develop, to me, this feels like something that's going to run and run and run in this transfer window and has the potential to really go deep into it and be that thing that we're all talking about at the end of the window. Can Arsenal get a deal done for someone? Is someone going to leave? Feels like there's other parts of the window that will be sorted quickly. And obviously Zubimendi's part of that. Zubimendi's coming in, so that's going to be done quickly. That's going to be done, whenever they choose to announce it, it's already been wrapped up and completed. Kepa, who I'll talk about later on the show, falls into the same category. So we're just waiting for that to kind of be done and completed. I still think, although the striker situation basically doesn't seem like it's moved on at all for a long time now, I still think that is going to be wrapped up pretty quickly. I'd be very, very surprised if Arsenal get to the start of pre-season or go over to the pre-season tour and we don't know what's happening with a striker situation. I really think I'm still convinced that we will know because they'll want to get that sorted early doors. And then I think the two other parts of this transfer window both have the potential to run deep, and that's what you do in midfield, especially if Thomas Partey goes, and then what you do at left wing. Because Arsenal aren't in any rush to sort of sort out the left winger because of the strength they already have there. When you've already got players like Martinelli and Trossard there, who are good players, who can, we know they can cause teams problems. So Arsenal aren't in any rush necessarily to get the left winger sorted. Striker, we know they're in a rush. They need to get that sorted one way or the other. Same with the goalkeeper, same with the midfielder, and they're going to do that. But with left winger, I just don't have that time pressure because of who you've already got in that position in the squad. Tom's got in touch and says, Bayern apparently interested in Martinelli. If we're open to sell him for up to 60 million, then bring Rodrygo in for 80 million. That's a very decent piece of business. Another thing to mention would possibly be the message it sends to the dressing room. Martinelli has underperformed for the past 2 seasons in many fans' eyes. If we then upgrade, quote, surely it makes the standard very clear to the rest of the squad. I don't know if it would be a sort of message to the rest of the dressing room. I think the dressing room would be pretty upset if Gabriel Martinelli goes, to be honest, because he's a very popular part of that. But yes, maybe I suppose you could look at it that way. It kind of shows that no one's safe because Martinelli's still considered, a really senior part of this squad now, a big part of this squad, and it would certainly show the message that no one's safe if you go and do that. It would be a big statement of intent in terms of freshening the squad up, no doubt about that. I mean, on Rodrygo, it was an unused sub yesterday for Real Madrid. There's lots of eyes on what's happening with Rodrygo, over in at the Club World Cup, because it's his first sort of time away with Alonso since Alonso came in. All the talk before they went away was Alonso wants him to stay, and they've had sort of clear the air talks after the way last season ended with Rodrygo, and Rodrygo is quite excited to work with Alonso and had good sort of early messages from him. All that sort of stuff was coming out from Spain, but now he's gone over there. He's not really played, unused sub yesterday. Didn't come on. Ardagula played, scored actually for them as well. And I think there's a lot of focus, not just from Arsenal fans on what's going on with Rodrygo, but from the Spanish press as well, where there still seems to be this feeling that towards the end of the window, once they've come back from the Club World Cup, that there is a chance that he could become available. And that's when I go back to why I think the left winger situation has the potential to really run deep into this window. And it could be one, and I think it will be one that will be kind of resolved later rather than earlier when you look at some of the other deals that have already been setting up right now. There is definitely a debate over how much of an upgrade Rodrygo is. Is this a case of shiny new toy syndrome for us looking at Rodrygo and saying, oh yeah, he's miles better than what we already have? When you look at the numbers, doesn't really suggest that he is in the last 2 seasons. He hasn't scored that many more or set up that many more goals than Gabriel Martinelli in the last 2 seasons. And this all the time while playing for Real Madrid, who usually hammer teams and all that sort of stuff. But you do have to caveat with the fact, especially last season, he was moved out of position, wasn't happy playing over on the right-hand side. So there is, it's not you don't look at it and immediately think that's definitely the one to do. I'd like it, I have to say. I think he has got the potential to really explode when he comes out the shadow of Real Madrid, perhaps. But let me know your thoughts on it. I feel like I've rambled on for too long now on the left wing situation, but let me know your thoughts on it all in the comments below. What will you do? What do you think the ideal situation is for Arsenal when it comes to the left winger, when it comes to Martinelli, when it comes to Rodrygo, when it comes to timing? How much of a rush do you think there is to sort out this position? Let me know all of that in the comments below. Right, let's get on some of your questions now, shall we? Got plenty of these to get stuck into this morning. Wilson, this is all on sort of reaction to Thomas Partey, who I was talking about yesterday, in terms of if Partey goes, and again, we don't know if that's going to happen yet. We'll wait and see what happens with these talks that are definitely going pretty slowly at the moment, but we'll see if a compromise can be reached, if there can be a breakthrough or not, or if, as has been suggested recently, it might well be that Thomas Partey does go. at the end of his contract. And we were talking yesterday, what would Arsenal do if Partey goes? How do you replace him? Do you go with a young profile, sort of up-and-coming type player? Do you bring in experience, like Arsenal being linked with Christian Norgard at Brentford, for example? What would you do? And I asked that question, and loads of you have responded. I've pulled some of them together here. Wilson says, hey, Charles, love the content as always. I think if Partey goes, ideally it would be a younger replacement, someone that could learn on the job. But it might not work. It might not work, but I'd actually like to see Marino give the number 6 role a try. The way he plays, I feel, could be a good fit. His defensive ability is often underrated. Also, the whole Santi story is just beautiful. So happy for him. One of my favourite players of the Emirates era. Yes, I agree with that. Wilson, on Marino, I don't like the idea of Marino as a number 6. I just don't think he's mobile enough. He's brilliant when it comes to winning duels and turning over possession. But I just think if he's the screen in front of the back four, there's a whole lot of space you have to cover, and I don't feel he's got the mobility to be able to do that well. I look at Marino and look at where his strengths are, and I think it's definitely in and around the final third, as we've seen since he moved to striker position. I don't see him as a 6. I have to say, maybe in a double pivot next to a 6, but I'm not sure about being the sort of lone 6 as Arsenal like to operate with. Dwayne says, we should replace Partey with an experienced Premier League player. The Agumo profile is intriguing, but as the main backup to a guy who is also new to the Prem, that's far too risky in an important season. There are some good options that are realistic. Douglas Luiz, obviously at Juventus at the moment. Luiz, Boubacar Kamara, Amadou Onana. Arsenal were in for Onana briefly, or were certainly interested in him. Maybe not. Maybe in for him is pushing that a little bit. You've even said Kobe Mainu could be a good look there. I'm not sure Kobe Mainoo is that experienced as a Premier League player, to be honest, but I see what you mean. So, yes, it's what you've had to say. So we've had one for a younger player. We've had one for an older player. And then GS says, I'm really keen for us to keep Partey. It's seriously tough start to the season. If Zubimendi, who I think is a really good signing, takes a while to adjust to the Prem, it could cost us dearly. We need a high-quality DM with Premier League experience. I don't think Norgard is quite good enough. I'd rather get Hato in for left back and have MLS play more as the DM. I think that will be his best position eventually. And these were just 3 of so many of you got in touch, sort of reacting to it. And it just sort of, I brought these 3 together because I just think it shows how there's so much of difference of opinion in what Arsenal should do when it comes to midfield. If Partey goes, how you replace him, what's the best way to replace him? I think it's a big thing for Arsenal to consider. Definitely have to replace him somewhere. You can't lose Jorginho and Partey and only bring in Zubimendi. You definitely have to bring one in. I'm more on the side of a younger, up and coming type player. I think that sort of profile, basically like Albert Sambi Lokonga, but not Albert Sambi Lokonga, if you see what I mean. I think he'll go, and I think he's a bit more sort of attacking anyway. But that sort of profile of player, someone you can bed in, can learn the game, hopefully behind Zubimendi, as long as he doesn't get injured. I know it's a bit of a risk, but I think if Zubimendi gets injured, then you probably just drop Declan Rice back there anyway and play one of the countless players you've got who can play in the left 8 role, or Havertz, Marino, that sort of player. So yeah, thank you everyone for getting in touch and giving me your thoughts on that. Do appreciate it as always. Andrew here's got in touch, says, weird question. If Zubimendi takes 36, do you think that's a long-term choice or just a temporary one until a preferred number is available? I want his kit, but I don't want to get one that will change next year. I don't know. I'm not sure. It would be impossible to answer that, Andrew. It would just be a complete guess. I mean, I think, as people have pointed out, if he does take 36, and honestly, the Twitter aggregators absolutely jumped all over that yesterday. You know, I made it very clear when I was speaking about it that I didn't know for sure. I wasn't 100% sure. I hadn't had total confirmation on it. And I said, you know, don't be rushing out to get his name and number on your shirts. I just heard 36 was what he was going to take, but I didn't have confirmation. And then honestly, all over Twitter yesterday, every aggregator got out there. Charles Watts, Zubimendi will wear 36 next season. It's like, oh, come on. If you're going to aggregate, at least make sure you put the context behind it rather than just one statement that everyone then copies without even going to check is right. So yeah, but in answer to your question, Andrew, I don't know. As simple as that. It would be a pure guess on my part. But there is history with him and 36. So if he does take that, and that is the one he goes for, I wouldn't sort of presume he would then change a year later because he does have history with that number. But again, that would just be a pure guess on my part. So I wouldn't be able to confidently say that or not. We've got here one from 5 hours behind on the Inside Arsenal Patreon message board saying, assuming Zinchenko is leaving, I am not sure why the assumption is that Kivior has to leave if Hato comes in. I think the lesson from last season is Arteta has to rotate more and Arsenal has to be better prepared for injuries. So I think they need 8 defenders for the 4 spots, especially of how injury prone Calafiori is. And they will have that if Hato comes in and Kivior stays. MLS Hato as the left-back options, Gabriel Calafiori, Saliba Kivior, Timber White. I think they need Hato and Kivior. What do you think? Well, I wouldn't say no, because I, like you, I just want as strong a squad as we possibly can. So I absolutely wouldn't say no. I do wonder how you would keep everyone in that group happy with that many top quality defenders. But I certainly wouldn't be against it. I have to say, I wonder what the sort of wage bill, what the wage bill will be with all these players. But yeah, I mean, bring them all in. As far as I'm concerned, have as big a squad as possible. But yeah, I wonder. I wonder how. I wonder how you keep them all happy, how many minutes you get. But then, like you said, I mean, if we have another series, I hope we don't, but if we have another season injury-wise like we did last season, then plenty of them will get loads of minutes. So bring them all in. That's what I say. Thank you for the question there. Luke has also got in touch on the Inside Arsenal Patreon board. Says, hi, Charles. Few cryptic mumblings that RB Leipzig have to sell this financial year. That gives us a week of pressure building. Do we know how much of this is true? If so, the next 7 days, we should be expecting everything to start moving. Meanwhile, Gyökeres is turning down everyone to work with us, and Sesko is allegedly demanding more money in release clause. In terms of the Leipzig thing, I just don't know. I'd be surprised. I know they missed out on Champions League football this season, but I'd be surprised if they're in that position, given they were in Champions League last year, where they absolutely have to sell by the end of the month. And I haven't heard that myself, but I'm not well on top of RB Leipzig's finances and accounts, so I don't know for certain, but I haven't really heard it myself. I do feel like this is, and I've said this before, but I do feel like this is the week we're going to start see things moving in the striker situation. Again, that's more of a hunch than anything else, but I'm so certain that Arsenal want to get this striker situation sorted before pre-season starts, and we're not actually that far away from it now. They go off to Singapore in less than a month's time. I feel like this is probably the week that things kind of have to start getting moving, because it'll probably take from the time of actually going for one of them and trying to get the deals done, probably having bids rejected, having to go back in with better bids, all that. You're talking about it taking 3-4 weeks anyway. So it does feel like the time, the clock is really, really ticking here. So I feel like this week it might happen because of that rather than RB Leipzig's finances. In terms of Gyökeres stuff and Sesko allegedly demanding more money in release clauses, I just take all of that with a pinch of salt at the moment. I just don't. There's so much stuff put out as facts at this time of year that it's so impossible really to know what's true and what's not from the sheer amount of rubbish that gets reported. And I'm not saying everything's rubbish. Some might have facts to it, but it's so hard to sort of sieve out what's right and what's wrong. So I'm just taking it all with a pinch of salt at the moment when it comes to Sesko demanding loads. I just don't feel like Sesko and his people who have managed his career so carefully so far and want his development is so key to them that they're going to suddenly be putting down huge wage demands to a club like Arsenal when he's only 22 years old and has just been playing in the German top flight for 2 years. I just genuinely don't believe it. I might be wrong, but I just don't feel like from the sort of noise you get from their side that would be something they would do. But again, that's not, I wouldn't be able to say it for certain, but I just take everything with a pinch of salt when you hear these sort of whispers come out about these sort of things. Is that Kian Millen says, morning, Charles, long-term listener, first time commenting, just listen to it. Just listen to this morning show, so this one can be for tomorrow. Was just wondering if you have any info on the latest with Kepa. Seemed like it was moving quickly, but gone silent now. Keep up amazing work, Charles. Thank you very much. Well, basically, Kian, I think it's done. There's not really much more I can say. I'm just kind of waiting for it all to sort of go through. The sense is from talking to people that this is a deal that Chelsea believes done, Arsenal believes done, Kepa wants to come. It's just kind of waiting for a sort of box tick type thing. It's a release clause deal. You don't have to negotiate it with Chelsea or anything like that. I think he's on holiday I genuinely think it's kind of simple as that. It's like, why do you get it done? Why are you getting it done yet? Wait till July, wait till everyone comes back, and you're not having to pay him, 2 or 3 weeks' wages that you don't need to pay him. Or you can let Chelsea pay those wages until you just trigger a release clause. But it's done as far as he will be an Arsenal player. That's what the feeling is, and nothing's changed from that. So simple as that, really, Kian. And that's it from me today, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it. As always, get in touch with your questions and comments for tomorrow's show. As always, until then, have a great one. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.